What is going on, y'all? Welcome to Face Mask Fantasy. Today I am here by myself because Nick is traveling for another wedding. I believe it is the third wedding out of 4 weddings that he had this year. So today you're chilling with me, but he will be back as soon as next week. But how's everybody doing? Again, welcome to Face Mask Fantasy. Anthony Garcia, I saw your question in the chat there. I am sorry. When I scheduled this live stream, well, when I created this live stream in Streamlabs, I didn't schedule it, so it looked like I was going live as soon as I created it in Streamlabs, and that's on me. But as always, we start at 5:55, and the live stream starts in earnest at 6 o'clock. But what's going on, Rojo? Much appreciated, much appreciated. Dwayne Johnson is in here. The Rock is in here. What's happening? But yeah, today, again, one day closer to the NFL season. We got preseason week 3 games starting at 8 o'clock. We have the Chiefs and the Packers at 8 o'clock, and then at 8:15, if anybody is actually interested in the other game that's happening, it is the Niners and the Texans. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to, basically the NFL season starting in 2 weeks. Very much looking forward to that. College football starts this weekend too, I believe. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Today, it's Thursday, and Nick isn't here. So you know what that means. It's Mock Day Thursday, as always. But before we get into the mocks, wanted to have talk about anything you guys want to talk about in the chat, as always. But I also wanted to touch on 2 running backs that have confused the hell out of me in terms of how to value them in fantasy this year, and that's CEH and Miles Sanders. So I do have some notes, some things I want to talk to you guys about with respect to those players and how we should be valuing them. And I know this might have been more beneficial a little bit earlier in the preseason, a little bit earlier in the offseason, but chances are a lot of you guys still haven't drafted for redraft, so you can still take advantage of some of the thoughts that I have with respect to those players. But, Rojo, what's happening, man? Why is my screen freezing? This is great. All right. What's going on, Ant? What's going on, Rojo? Dwayne, The Rock Johnson, always good to see you in here. Big Truz, what's happening, man? Yeah, man, I'm real hyped. I'm real hyped for the season. And I'm real hyped because yesterday in the members-only stream, we solidified that we are going to be doing a second league, and it's going to be the first zombie league that I've ever participated in. So that's a lot of fun. If anybody's interested in joining a league that isn't in a league with us right now, you do have to join as a member of this YouTube channel. The link should be in the second link. I think it's the second link in the description below. You'll see a title right on top of it. So actually, I think the second link is the redraft draft kit, which is free. You don't have to be a member for that one, but the members link is in the description as well. But yeah, let's kick it off. First off, does anybody have any questions? Before I go into my topics for today, does anybody have any questions? Anthony Garcia says Dez. Are we talking about Dez Bryant? Did he do something? Are we talking about Dez Fitzpatrick? Did he do something? I guess before we get into the subjects for today, there were some news. There were some happenings in the news in terms of fantasy that do have fantasy repercussions. Tyron Smith injured again for the Cowboys. Not great news. I don't know if there's any guarantees on when he's going to be back, but he's been an oft-injured offensive tackle for the past few seasons, and now it looks like they're not going to be able to rely on him early in the year, which was a boost for Ezekiel Elliott, for Tony Pollard, for Dak Prescott, and for the whole offense. Now they're going to have to use the first round or second round guard that they got, swing him over to tackle, and shuffle around the O-line and make it work like they have in the past. So not the greatest news there with respect to that situation. Yeah, Rojo, I heard about that pretty much right before I went live. Huge Rams-Bengals fight. Apparently Aaron Donald was swinging around helmets and Sean McVay had to get involved. Yeah, Aaron Donald whacking people upside the domes with a helmet, Myles Garrett style. We'll see what becomes of that. Seems a little out of character. Like, you guys just won a Super Bowl against these guys. If anybody should be swinging helmets, it should be the Bengals. It shouldn't be Aaron Donald, who should, take the high road. Y'all just won the Super Bowl against the team that you're practicing against. Chill. Obviously, I don't have any backstory. All I know is that there was some sort of altercation, and Aaron Donald was swinging his helmet. So I don't know if there was any instigation on either end. I don't know. So we'll see as news trickles out about that. But, subject for today. The first back I'm going to talk about is Miles Sanders. Because another piece of news is that Miles Sanders is still not practicing as of yesterday, as he continues to deal with a hamstring injury. And word came out that he's been out for nearly 2 weeks and has no timetable for return. Which means Boston Scott and, more importantly, Kenny Gainwell to the moon, they become viable options as soon as week 1 should Sanders miss time in the regular season. And Miles Sanders has already come out and said earlier in the offseason that we should not be drafting him. He recommended that fantasy owners not draft him, which is just weird. So the vibes on Miles Sanders, strange. On one hand, he's one of the genuinely one of the most electric running backs in fantasy. In back-to-back seasons, the past 2 years, he's got 5.3 yards per carry and 5.5 yards per carry. For comparison, Jamal Charles, 11-year career, insane 11-year career, but he had a career yards per carry average of 5.3. For a smaller sample size that might compare a little bit more to Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones has a 5-year career, yards per carry in terms of his career, 5.1. Miles Sanders' 3-year career, yards per carry of 5.13. So he's clearly electric. He's clearly a good running back. And he's on a team that last year with Nick Sirianni, first-year head coach, so we don't have much of a blueprint to look back on, but 1 year, he was on a team that ran the most run plays per game in all of the NFL, which is what the Eagles did last year. Also has a great O-line. If you go on Player Profiler under Miles Sanders, it says number 1 in the league in run blocking grade in 2020, which means the O-line ahead of him blocked ahead of him better than any other O-line blocked for their running back in the league in 2020 to 2021. He also started his career with the 50-catch season, which is impressive, especially for somebody who was a part-time player at that time, at least early in his career to start the year that year. And prior to a year where he scored no touchdowns last year, he was a rock-solid RB2 on a points-per-game basis. He was RB17 in points per game in 2020 and RB21 in points per game in 2019, his rookie season. But on the other hand, he can't stay healthy. He's missed 3 games in back-to-back seasons. And despite that, like you would think that he would have been being run into the ground like a Derrick Henry or something like that. He's never had more than 179 rushes in a season. So despite a relatively low workload, small workload for an NFL starting running back, he can't stay healthy. And he plays on a team with a rushing quarterback, a young rushing quarterback, and 2 other running backs who get a lot of play on a weekly basis. And Miles Sanders seems touchdown averse. He's only scored 12 touchdowns in 3 full seasons as a de facto lead back. Which is weird when you consider the weapons that were on these Eagles teams. Last year it was Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and basically nobody else, and he still couldn't find his way to scoring touchdowns. The year before that, Devonta Smith wasn't there, and it was basically Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, Carson Wentz was on the team, but he still only had 6 touchdowns, not only, but it's not what, I mean, you're looking for even more out of your lead back. He seems touchdown averse. But when you look at his profile, he's a faster and a stronger, but a more injury-prone Aaron Jones. Bear with me. I know you might be thinking, what's this guy talking about? But he also plays on a team that doesn't feature him. Aaron Jones plays on a team that features him. Miles Sanders also plays on a team that doesn't pass him the ball. Aaron Jones plays on a team that passes him the ball. Miles Sanders also doesn't happen to have the most talented thrower of the football in the history of the NFL throwing him the ball. Aaron Jones does. Y'all have heard me basically, sorry Hunter, slander Aaron Rodgers to a certain extent. But he has the best career touchdown percentage for a QB that wasn't playing either in the 1950s and has more than 8 years under his belt, because that caveat takes out Patrick Mahomes out of the equation, because Patrick Mahomes has been great, but we're still dealing with a small sample size relatively. When you take those factors into consideration, best career touchdown percentage for a QB ever. Aaron Jones has that. Miles Sanders doesn't. Jalen Hurts' career touchdown percentage, small sample size, basically a year and a half. Or a year and 2 games or something like that. 3.8. Aaron Rodgers' I believe it's like 6.2. He legit throws double as many touchdowns basically as Jalen Hurts did last year. On a year in, year out basis. Aaron Rodgers is incredible. So that's the difference between Miles Sanders and Aaron Jones. I believe athletically, they're pretty similar. One of them's injury prone, plays on a team that doesn't feature him, and plays on a team that doesn't feature him pretty much at all in the pass game. And doesn't have one of the best, if not the best, quarterback of all time, based on talent, pure talent alone. So Miles Sanders is a conundrum. He's telling you not to draft him. But at the same time, he's one of the most electric running backs in the NFL. Not many other running backs 3 years into their career can say they have a career yards per carry average of 5.13. But what do you do with him? Because he's already injured. He already has no timetable for return. I assume this news, which dropped yesterday, is going to continue to drop his ADP. Miles Sanders' ADP will continue to fall. Kenny Gainwell's ADP will continue to rise. Right now, Miles Sanders' ADP is 91.7. He can be had in the middle of the 8th round. Gainwell's ADP is 129.6. These are underdog ADPs. So these are smart drafters. And that's middle of the 11th round. And with this news, I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of days, in a week, you can get them both in the 10th, early 10th, late 9th round. At which point to me, I'm going Kenny Gainwell. But despite that, you do have to just understand that when you're investing in Kenny Gainwell, Miles Sanders does have some of the highest potential in the NFL. We've seen glimpses of it. But I'm really confused, and I'm really worried that we're never going to see it. Because he's going to play out his contract on the Eagles, and then he's going to go somewhere, maybe a place that fits his skill set a little bit better and utilizes him a little bit more as a pure RB1 instead of in this weird committee that seems to always happen with him. And maybe we get 1 year of truly electric Miles Sanders. But, I mean, I think he's always going to have less than 180 rushes in a year. And I think he's never going to be a running back that supplements that lack of rushing touches with 60 receptions, 70 receptions, which is what we're looking at, 80, 90 receptions, which is what we're looking at with a Kamara and a Aaron Jones. He has topped out at 50 receptions, and that happened his rookie season, and every season it's gone down since. I don't know if it ever goes back up, because now you look at the Eagles, Kenny Gainwell's a better receiver than he is. So they don't have the incentive, if they want to use running backs in the pass game, to use Miles Sanders, because Gainwell's there, and Gainwell's better at that, and is less injury prone. So it's just weird. I've been one of the biggest fans of Miles Sanders for a while. Even though I'm not an Eagles fan, I just have in fantasy. I've been a fan of Miles Sanders, traded for him in 2 dynasty leagues that I'm in. Now I'm kind of all the way out, and I'm kind of all the way in on Gainwell. And it took a while, but this is where I'm at. And I've been slamming the table for Gainwell all offseason, but it never came at the expense of me saying, hey, don't draft Sanders. I always said Sanders is still a value too. Now I'm not so sure. So if you have Miles Sanders in Dynasty, see if you can offload him. See if you can get Gainwell. And if you're drafting and redraft within the next week and a half, 2 weeks, I don't know if I'd be in on Sanders this year. Yes, he's due for some positive touchdown regression. But he's never going to be what you want him to be. And even though you can have him in the 9th round, you can have a running back in the same offense who should be better and is less injury prone. So that's my little diatribe on Miles Sanders. I would love to know what you guys think about that. Think about my take there. But let's get back to this chat real quick before we dig into CEH and then get into some mocks. Rojo, your league drafts this Saturday. Favorite weekend of the year. Yeah, man, it's coming up on one of my favorite weekends or favorite days of the year, favorite occurrences of the year, which is a redraft league that I'm in that I've been doing for 12 seasons. This is the one I started with, so I'm looking forward to that. Aaron Donald whacking people upside the domes. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Yeah. Apparently, all the punishment comes down to what McVay is going to be doing. Which, I mean, I think the speculation is he's going to force Aaron Donald to sit out the last preseason game, which to me doesn't sound like a punishment. But I don't know what's going to happen there. I really don't. CXK, what's happening? Max Fire, what's happening? Hunter L, what's good? And there you go. Appreciate it. 4.83. Was that his touchdown rate? I actually don't know what that 4.83 is. But Denzel Mims just requested a trade out of New York. I'm surprised he didn't do that earlier. I'm surprised he didn't do that last year. I'm surprised if he didn't do it last year, he didn't do it right after the draft when they drafted Garrett Wilson in the early first round when they still had Corey Davis and Elijah Moore. I'm surprised it took Denzel Mims this long to request a trade. I have been all the way out on Denzel Mims for pretty much a calendar year, despite being pretty high on him upon him entering the league. He was a standout at the Senior Bowl when he came in. Relatively high draft capital, I believe, too. I believe he was a second-round pick. Very good measurables coming in. Something just didn't click. So I've been out on Denzel Mims for a while. Even if he requests a trade, I think it's going to be like a N'Keal Harry to Chicago type of deal, where it doesn't really matter where he goes. I'm kind of out, despite the fact that he is young and still, to this point, technically an unknown fantasy commodity. If he can't make it work on a depth chart that basically at the time included Corey Davis playing his first season in a new offense, and a rookie in Elijah Moore, in a year where Corey Davis went down, in a year where Jamison Crowder went down, and they were running out Jeff Smith and Braxton Berrios, there's no way I can be in on Denzel Mims. I'm down. If that team that was rolling out Kellen Moore, there's a K Moore there. I don't know if it's Kellen Moore. I feel like that's a quarterback. And Jeff Smith and Braxton Berrios, if you can't rise above that trio of wide receivers to see the field, I'm kind of done. I'm done. And yeah, all right, Hunter. Much respect to Rodgers and what he's done over his career. TD to interception ratio is 4.83 to 1, which is insane. But also, I was just talking about his touchdown percentage. What percentage of his throws are touchdowns? He has the highest, if you take out people that were playing at or around or before 1950, and you take out anybody who has been playing less than 5 seasons, i.e. Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers has the best career touchdown percentage in NFL history. He throws more touchdowns per drop back than any other player in NFL history. The dude's a beast. Is that going to translate to fantasy value this year for him in the QB ranks? Don't know. But I got to give him his flowers, got to give him his props. Not that he really needs them from me, but Aaron Rodgers is incredible. Iron, what's happening? Jonathan Gonzalez, what's happening? Traded Miles Sanders for a 23-second and a 24-second. That's a win to me. That's a win to me, because in 23, with that second, you could be getting a Zach Charbonnet. If you want to dig back into the running back ranks, you could be getting, there's a couple other running backs in there. Since running backs and quarterbacks will be at the top of the draft rankings in 2023, a couple of wide receivers, good wide receivers, will be pushed down as well. So despite having basically, I want to say 6 to 8 to even maybe even 9 real good running back prospects, a couple of elite ones in there, Bijan, Zach Evans, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tank Bigsby. They also have 3 quarterbacks that are look to be legit, 2 that look to be future superstars. They also have Michael Mayer in that draft, who looks to be the best tight end prospect, not named Pitts, since Hawkinson. So you're going to have a tight end drafted in the NFL pretty high that year, next year. So he's going to be in there. So a lot of good wide receivers will get pushed down, and a couple of running backs will probably be available in the second round. So just for that 2023 second, you should be able to get a good player who should outperform Miles Sanders on a game-to-game basis based on what my projections are for him, and you picked up a 24 second. So great job there. I think you got out from under him at just the right time. Because I just talked about Miles Sanders for a good 10 minutes, so I don't need to go any further into that. But great trade, I believe. I like that. Hunter, you want Denzel Mims to go to Green Bay? You got to shoot a little higher than that, man. You got to shoot a little bit higher than Denzel Mims. Like, I'd rather Will Fuller. at this point if we're hoping just for them to get anybody on the squad. And honestly, yes, they don't have a superstar wide receiver, but they still should have a pretty decent wide receiver core. I've been thinking about it. I don't know. Like, I was thinking earlier in the offseason that it was just one of the worst that I've ever seen. It's not like Bears level to me. Yeah, they don't have somebody quite like Darnell Mooney, but the depth there in Green Bay, going basically with the top 3 wide receivers, top 2 at least, should be okay. I don't know. I don't even know. I kind of flip-flop with the Green Bay Packers wide receiver core on a day-to-day basis. I mean, Allen Lazard, I like him. Sammy Watkins, if he can stay healthy, can be a solid wide receiver 3 for a squad. One of Doubs and Watson should operate as the team's wide receiver 2 on a game-to-game basis. Maybe they flip-flop throughout the year. Maybe during the course of the season, one of them really takes the reins. Hopefully it's Christian Watson. And then Randall Cobb is there, and he'll just be Mr. Steady like he always has been. He'll be a steady veteran presence who might not light up the fantasy sheet, probably won't light up the fantasy sheet, but should still be valuable to them on a game-to-game basis. Still expect the Packers to be a winning team in the NFL. For fantasy, I don't know. So, we'll see. We'll see. But shoot higher than Denzel Mims, man. Iron. Today we got stoned. Lack of fantasy leagues, draw, stoned, lack is the Austrian. I'm confused. Stoned lack is the Austrian fantasy community. Okay. All right. 25 leagues for an Austrian fantasy community. I like it. I just like that fantasy is becoming more of a worldwide sport. I like that and the NFL is becoming more of a worldwide sport. I know they had NFL Europe back when I was a teenager. I know that they've tried to have London games every year, a couple of London games with Jacksonville. They tried to move the Bills at one point to Canada. They tried to have a game down in Mexico at one point. I just like the fact that the NFL and fantasy is becoming more of a global thing, because it really is fun. Really is fun. Cole Beasley to Green Bay. See, that I could get down with. That is the perfect wide receiver who should be going to Green Bay. Turn Randall Cobb into a truly just the veteran presence on the sideline. Have him there being Aaron Rodgers' best friend. Bring in Cole Beasley, who can still at least get it done on the field. And honestly, his politics line up with Aaron Rodgers perfectly, so they might, strike up a friendship there too. I could see Cole Beasley to Green Bay being good. I don't know why that hasn't gotten done yet. That is legitimately the perfect wide receiver for them to pick up. Not a field stretcher, but also a reliable veteran who's not all the way dumb like Randall Cobb is. So I would like that. Pick up Cole Beasley and pick up Will Fuller, and your wide receiver core is fine. Because you have guys, you might not have a superstar, but you have guys that can do everything. Yo, tell me why. Why wouldn't you want Cole Beasley, former Bill, former Cowboy, Cole Beasley, on your squad, on your team? I want to know. All right, but we kind of shat all over Miles Sanders already. Now I want to discuss Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because why not? I mean, everybody's talking about Isaiah Pacheco like he's going to take Clyde Edwards-Helaire's job, and I kind of think people are going a little bit overboard there. I think he's already taken Ronald Jones's job, and that is great for him. Not Ronald Jones, but Isaiah Pacheco. But I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire's role in this offense is pretty secure, and I think people have been a little bit too harsh on him, including me, because basically I didn't know what to do with him. And that's why I put together these notes and wanted to have a discussion about him, because I had to do a deep dive to figure out what I really felt about CEH. Is he a value, or am I basically all the way off him at this point like I am with Miles Sanders? Discussing the Chiefs' backfield, ESPN's Adam Tasher wrote, "One thing is clear, Edwards-Helaire is atop the depth chart." End quote. Do you got to take some of these reporters' comments with a grain of salt? Absolutely. But there's no reason for me to think anything other than that's probably true. Now, we've heard the comments about him having gallbladder surgery last March, which, by his estimation, kind of derailed his second season, and we kind of saw that come to fruition on the field. But it seems like a lot of people are forgetting the fact, know that happened, and are basically disregarding that it really had an impact for him on the field. He revealed on the Arrowhead Addict podcast, I like that name, that he missed a bunch of time last offseason after undergoing gallbladder surgery in early March. And this is a direct quote from CEH. "My gallbladder completely stopped working, and I was down to about 160 pounds. I didn't run and didn't do anything all the way up until OTAs, and was still dealing with stitches and the recovery over the course of the entire summer." End quote. Down to 160 pounds, that's not nothing. For reference, he came into the league at 207, so he basically lost almost, 50 pounds? But despite that, he didn't lose much efficiency. He had 4.4 yards per carry in year 1, 4.3 yards per carry in year 2 post-gallbladder surgery, when he was still, by all accounts, dealing with some of the effects from that surgery. This will be actually the first full offseason for CEH with the Chiefs where he's fully healthy. That's notable to me. And the fact that they brought in Jones and want to elevate an undrafted free agent ahead of him, yes, that's great for Pacheco, but that's also, to me, I think that's pretty good for CEH too. Because he doesn't have to deal with the fact that Ronald Jones, who seemed to just be kind of a drain on CEH's value, isn't there. Now, Isaiah Pacheco, coming into the same role, might leech those same targets, touches, and that same goal line presence away from CEH. And we expect him to a certain extent. But I don't know if it's going to happen to the same extent that it would have if Ronald Jones and Isaiah Pacheco were on the team and both performing up to the standard of the squad that drafted them or brought them in. CEH is the starter here on a team that lost its best, most electric playmaker in Tyreek Hill. I don't think CEH will ever be confused with being a great fantasy option, but he plays on an electric team with one of the best playmakers at QB on legit every play. And for what it's worth, former LSU quarterback Joe Burrow told the Dan Patrick Show that his backfield teammate, CEH, was the best athlete on the 2019 National Championship team. And just a reminder, that team had Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Terrace Marshall, Grant Delpit, and Derek Stingley on the squad. And really, Joe Burrow had no reason to go out on a limb and pump up CEH. No reason. If anything, he had a reason to pump up Jamar Chase. Ended up being teammates. And he knew at the time when he was saying this that he wasn't going to be CEH's teammate because CEH was already playing with Mahomes. So there was no real reason for him to go out on a limb to pump CEH up. And he still called CEH the best pure athlete that he ever played with. This is the quote from Joe Burrow. "No question. He's unreal. He's going to play for 20 years in the NFL. Everyone looks at my stats because we threw the ball so much, because we had great guys on the outside as well. but I mean Clyde is a different beast, end quote. He had no reason to say that. To me, that means he truly believed it. But we just haven't seen it because, A, he was miscast upon entering the NFL. He's not Jonathan Taylor, and because Jonathan Taylor went on to be what he was, people automatically hate on CEH because they drafted him over Jonathan Taylor in most cases. Sometimes we got to recorrect our bias. Sometimes we got to look at a player, look at all the facts, and recorrect our bias. I think we got to recorrect our bias a little bit with CEH. On the other hand, don't go crazy. Because on the other hand, the Kansas City Chiefs were one of the lowest volume rushing teams in the NFL in 2021, and I don't think that's going to change. They had 431 carries, which ranked 20th in the NFL, and were 22 fewer than league average. They've been a pass-happy team in the recent past. They finished 23rd in carries, total carries, 27th in carries, and 23rd in carries, respectively, in team rush rate from 2018 to 2020, and again, 20th in the NFL in 21. So they're never going to be a run-heavy team. And Mahomes is back. Andy Reid is back. Offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy is back. I know Tyreek Hill is gone, but there's not much to lead me to believe that they're going to be changing their offensive strategy there because they went out and replaced Tyreek Hill with 3 different players. Juju, MVS, and Sky Moore. This will likely mean another below-average year for their rushing volume. So that caps him a little bit. He's never going to be a 300 rush, 250 rush player. But I think that's okay. Reevaluate the player, reevaluate what they can be, and then maybe he becomes a value this year based on where he's being drafted. He's healthy and is undergoing his first full offseason with the Chiefs. First real shot to improve on his year 1 promise. He was the RB22 in 2020 while playing only 13 games. Right behind Miles Sanders and DeAndre Swift. And he was the RB20 in fantasy points per game. And he started off 2021 with 2 games against 2 very good rushing defenses, the Browns and Baltimore. Didn't look great in those games, but after those games and the 2 games following the first 2 games, he played against the Chargers and the Eagles. And he averaged 17.5 touches per game, 101 rushing yards, going over 100 twice in both games. And he scored a receiving touchdown in back-to-back games as well. We all know he's not built to be on the goal line, but at least they used him enough in the receiving game to get him a few touchdown passes in the receiving game in back-to-back games. He averaged 6.5 yards per carry in those back-to-back games. And then he injured his knee. And he went on IR, missed 5 games, and saw a declining role when he returned. And that's after spending the entire summer coming back from gallbladder surgery where he lost basically 50 pounds and had to get all that back. First 2 games, not great. Week 3, week 4, looked like the back we wanted to see in year 1. Then he got injured, never got back to full strength. The team put faith in other players. And we're left where we are with CEH right now. He's not Brian Westbrook. We know that now. And I think that's okay. Recalibrate now that we know what he is. Don't throw him in the trash. Recalibrate. Look for a different comp. I think the perfect comp for him, there's 3 players that come to mind. One's on the higher end of the spectrum, one's on the lower end of the spectrum, and one's right in the sweet spot. The sweet spot guy for me with the comp for CEH is CJ Anderson. 5'8", 99th percentile BMI. CEH, 5'7", 92nd percentile BMI. Both of them ran a 4.6 40-yard dash. In CJ Anderson's best season, he was getting 40 to 45 targets, and he was always, basically outside of one season, a sub 180 rushes back. He was never a full-time back. I believe CEH is 23. When Anderson was 23, he only had 179 rush attempts and and that was in 2014. But he played in an electric offense with a great QB in Peyton Manning and finished RB12 behind 10 total touchdowns that year. That, to me, sounds like the best case scenario for CEH. CEH, 23, should have around 180 rush attempts. Plays in an electric offense with a great QB in Patrick Mahomes. And if he realizes some touchdown upside, maybe gets to 8 touchdowns, not 10, maybe 8 total touchdowns, he should finish this in RB2. If CEH gets 180 touches, that's around 800 something yards. 4.5-ish yards per carry, which is 0.1 above his league average. Let's put that in there for the sake of saying he's going to improve off of an off season where he's fully healthy. If he gets 60 targets, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility, considering they just lost their favorite playmaker. His career catch percentage is 71.4%. That's 42.84 catches. Let's call it 43. His career yards per route is 7.7. So that adds up to 331 receiving yards. Never going to be a goal line back. He's not big enough for that. CEH averaged 4 touchdowns on the ground per year throughout his 2-year career thus far. So let's give him 5 touchdowns on the ground. And let's give him 3 touchdowns through the air on 77 targets in 2 seasons. So let's give him 2 for improvement's sake. Let's give him 2. So based on those projections, which I think are okay, that's 800 yards, 300 rush yards, 331 receiving yards, and 7 total touchdowns. He's not a 100-yard or 1,000-yard rusher. He's not breaking 500 receiving yards or something crazy. He's not breaking 10 touchdowns like the person I just comped him to and CJ Anderson did in his best season. But those are pretty decent numbers. 800 rush yards, 331 receiving yards, 7 total touchdowns. Pretty much in line with what he's done in his career. Guess who had that season last year? Who we all love. A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon had 187 rushes for 803 yards, 5 touchdowns on the ground, 313 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns through the air. A.J. Dillon was the RB21 in standard, the RB23 and a half PPR and PPR. Based on those numbers, CEH, his floor is low-end RB2, and he has high-end RB2 upside. Why are we shitting on that so much? Sure, he's not an RB1, but a low to mid-tier RB2 with some spike weeks, book it. ADP of 82.9, late 7th round. If I'm playing hero RB or zero RB, and I can get a rock-solid RB2 in the 7th round, that's a win. Why are we hating on CEH so much? So don't be afraid to draft CEH. Don't overhype Isaiah Pacheco and overdraft him. Be realistic. CEH is not garbage. I believe he's 23 still, playing in a good offense. Don't trade him away for nothing in Dynasty. Don't be averse to drafting him in redraft this year. I think the hate for CEH has gone a little bit too far, and honestly, I've been a hater of him too. So a lot of this is recorrecting my own bias. But there you go. But let's get back to this chat. I hope you guys got a little bit out of my diatribe on Miles Sanders and then CEH. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit. And honestly, I think I'm being pretty reasonable with how I approach both those players and what I talked about. Hunter, no fuck no for Cole Beasley. That's still funny. All right, there are 2 guys. One is called Stoned, Stony, and the other Lack. All right, got you. All right, I thought you were saying you got stoned and then you lacked something, with regards to fantasy. I got a little bit confused there, but that's awesome. 25, 25 team league, 25 leagues for an Austrian company or whatever you got going. I like that. That's dope. Good to hear. Jonathan, you say hearing he might land with the Giants with Dable. That would be interesting. Cole Beasley going back there would make a lot of sense. They picked up ex-Bill Matt Breida. That didn't make a lot of sense. Them going in it with Cole Beasley, considering their depth chart and the weapons really not having any rapport with Daniel Jones, would make sense to me. Get a veteran in there that's like an actual like good wide receiver and not just Kenny Golladay. Honestly, Kadarius Toney and Wan'Dale Robinson might be able to use a little bit of a veteran presence. Now, I know they have that in Sterling Shepard to a certain extent. I guess they have it with Kenny Golladay. I'm not really buying that. But they also just lost Colin Johnson, who was fighting for the fourth wide receiver spot on that team for the entire season. So I honestly, it would make sense for the Giants to go get Cole Beasley. That would make sense. Yo, Iron, so there's 600 people on the Discord for this, for the Stony Lack fantasy team, fantasy gaming. All right, that's what I'm talking about. I love to hear that fantasy is becoming a truly international thing. The NFL too. I'd love to hear that there's leagues still going in places like Austria and stuff like that with the Vienna Vikings. Real cool to hear that there's people in other parts of the world that are that interested in fantasy, because it's really fun. Trey, what's happening, man? Full PPR redraft: Melvin Gordon or Cordarrelle Patterson? Melvin Gordon for sure. Cordarrelle Patterson, I don't believe will ever see a full-time role in his backfield, even if something happens to Tyler Algier. If something happened to Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon is a borderline league winner. Cordarrelle Patterson will always be a gadget guy. And I would rather, maybe that would, my thought process would change if Matt Ryan was still there and there was still a competent throw of the football there. I don't know what to think about Marcus Mariota, and I don't know what to think about Desmond Ridder. But I know what to think about Russell Wilson. He's legit. So to me, I would much rather have Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon's been a good pass catcher. Cordarrelle Patterson on sleeper. I don't know what platform you're playing on, but Cordarrelle Patterson was stripped of his wide receiver, running back hybrid status. Now he's just a running back. I know he's still going to be used as a pass catcher, but I just have more faith in Melvin Gordon. He's just been a more consistent option. He didn't have 8 years of basically never seeing the field outside of special team snaps, and then have one magical season, and then his quarterback left. Melvin Gordon's been a rock-solid running back too, while splitting work with Eckler, and then Phillip Lindsay, and then Javonte Williams for the past, 5 years? And last year, I think he was RB17. Rock-solid RB2. Pretty much sustained value every week of the year. It wasn't Javonte game, then Melvin Gordon game, then Javonte game. Because they split the workload real evenly down the middle, they had value. They both had value concurrently. Melvin Gordon for me for sure. Hunter, he's not on a team for a reason. I don't want that rapper on my team. Hey man, he's a better rapper than I ever thought he actually was. When I heard that he was rapping, I was like, all right, let me go on Spotify, check this out, and get ready to laugh. And he was actually pretty competent. So I don't agree with his stances on things. I don't agree with how he handled that last year. But I still think he can be an asset for an NFL team. Big trust. CEH, CEH, CEH. Yeah, man. I've been too low on him. I'm not going to get too high on him. But low end to mid tier RB2 sounds about right. And with that expectation, I have no issues getting him in the 7th round if I'm going 0 or hero RB, which is what I'm doing this year. That is my strategy. So get one guy early on, hammer the other positions, then in the 7th round, if an Antonio Gibson is gone, if a Josh Jacobs is gone, and you're looking at, Devin Singletary and stuff, and CEH is there, I might be looking at CEH a little bit more than I ever thought I would this year. Anthony Garcia, Josh Jacobs he's going to have a 1,000 receiving yards. No, he's not. No, he's not. He looks like Alvin Kamara. No, he's not. No, he's not. Come on, man. You got jokes. I like it. I like the jokes you're bringing to the live stream. I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. If you're serious about that, we have to have a discussion. I'm hoping that you're kidding. Hoping that you're kidding. I don't think Josh Jacobs has ever eclipsed 50 catches. And I know Kenyon Drake's not there, but Amir Abdullah and Zamir White can both catch passes. With one of them, Amir Abdullah, that's his specialty, and Brandon Bolden apparently is going to be involved. So, really, Josh Jacobs, I hope you're joking. Iron, would you rather have Gibson or CEH? I mean, I think I'd rather have Gibson, man. Back-to-back years of RB12 production. And yeah, and Chris Wise, much appreciated for the super. We'll get to your question right after Irons. Really appreciate that though. Thanks for coming through. Iron, would you rather have Gibson or CEH? I'm going with the guy who has shown RB1 production and got knocked down a peg versus the guy that has shown RB2 production and should be able to sustain RB2 production despite possibly being knocked down a peg from there as well. I'm projecting low to mid end RB2 production for CEH. I'm projecting mid to high end RB2 production for Gibson, despite all the bad news that has come out about him. And now apparently he's their primary returner. Okay. I don't have an issue. It's weird. It's weird. I don't have an issue with it. Why? Because honestly, that gives him a route to some more fantasy production. If, he's their primary returner and he returns one of those returns, that's an extra, 7 points for your fantasy team? So if they already had a solidified role for him as a rusher, and they know they want to get him on the field because they know he's an electric playmaker, and that's why they're making him their returner, I have no issues with that. It's weird, but I really don't have any issues with that. Let me bring something up here with respect to Antonio Gibson. We spoke a little bit about this earlier in the week and last week. It's 4.39 speed. 97th percentile speed. Last year, he had a snap share of 56.3%. That was 23rd in the league. He was the 23 most utilized running back on a per snap basis. But he still finished top 12 in fantasy points at the end of the year. Why? Because when he was on the field, they used him. He wasn't on the field 70, 80% of the time. Jarrett Patterson was in there and got 60 rushes. J.D. McKissick was in there. He was Antonio Gibson was basically a 50% snap share on the season. And he still found his way to top 12 production. If Brian Robinson comes in and gets 100 rushes on the ground, takes away a few rushes from Gibson, but Gibson is used a little bit more in the second and third down role, and they scale back J.D. McKissic, who is now, I believe, 29 going on 30, that makes sense to me. And they want to use him on special teams and in positions that where he might score a few more fantasy points for your team in areas where most players don't. Cool. Okay. You know who also used to do that? Or you know who did that last season? Cordarrelle Patterson. You know who did that before Cordarrelle Patterson in the league, but was and found his way to fantasy relevance by being a returner? Darren Sproles. There were years where you wanted Darren Sproles on your team because you knew he gave you some special teams ability in terms of what he could do for your fantasy team too. It's the same with Cordarrelle Patterson. Last year, he wasn't just a rusher and a receiver. He also returned kicks and punts and was viable there too. So it's weird. But if they want to use him as a multifaceted weapon, change his role a little bit from being a pure rusher to a little bit more of a rusher and receiver to help him stay healthy throughout a full season, because last year he suffered shin splints and that didn't keep him out of any games, I believe, but that contributed to a mid-season slump, but he played through it. So he's also got the toughness on his side. I don't know what else Antonio Gibson could have done over the past 2 seasons. He played through injury, stuck it out for this team, was one of their best playmakers in the back, was their best playmaker in the backfield, was one of the top 2 playmakers on this team. And yeah, they've disrespected him a little bit this offseason. Nick made the point in the members-only stream yesterday that he has very small hands, and that contributed to his fumble issues. But he was a college wide receiver. He has 97th percentile speed at the running back position. 4.39 speed. You can't teach that. If they want to find more ways to scheme him open and scheme him on the field, I'm cool with that. You know who doesn't have 4.39 speed? CEH. He has 4.6 speed. CEH, and you know who's 5'7" and not 6 feet, 221 pounds? CEH. You know who is 6 foot, 228 pounds? Gibson. You know who Gibson compares to most on playerprofiler.com? Joe Mixon. So to me, it's not even close, man. It's not even close. Sure, he might fumble. Sure, he might be the primary returner right now. Sure, they might scale back his rushes a little bit and give him a little bit more plays in the passing game on third down and stuff, because J.D. McKissic is 28 and they were ready to let him go until the Bills were going to sign him, and then they said, wait, we want you back. They were ready to let him go. They were ready to just say, peace, J.D. McKissic, we got Antonio Gibson. Remember that 2 weeks there in earlier in the year where everybody who had Antonio Gibson was like, it's Gibson season, and then J.D. McKissic got re-signed in the last minute, in the 12th hour, not even the 11th hour. I'm still in on Gibson. I'm still in. Would rather have him than CEH. But my point with the CEH talk was that despite that, you shouldn't be all the way out on him. Just be realistic about what he can be this year. But also be realistic about Gibson. Gibson is not trash. You had him 2 years in redraft and he was disappointing as fuck to you. I mean, in points per game in 2020, he was RB16, and in points per game in 2021, he was RB17. In both those seasons, because he played 14 games and then 16 games respectively in those 2 years, he finished as a top 12 running back in 2 years running. I think if your expectations were too high, everybody's expectations were too high last year. Coming into last year, Nick and I had him as a top 8 running back. Sure, he disappointed to a certain extent by only finishing RB12 instead of RB8 or above. But disappointing as fuck and calling him trash? I think you got to just scale that back a little bit. And especially because at the ADP that you can get him, and the bad news keeps coming out, which means his ADP is going to fall. You can get him right now in the 9th round. Or at the turn, 8-9 turn. I'm not hating on that at all. I'm not hating on that at all. I don't think Gibson is trash. To Iron, you have him in Dynasty and you're not sure what to do with him. Is that Gibson? Keep him. Keep him. You're not going to... First off, you're not going to get any sort of value by moving off of him. People are going to try to lowball you. Chances are your return isn't going to be anything close to the mid-tier RB2 value with RB low-end RB1 weeks that he can supply will be. If I said that correctly. Just hold him. Hold him. Honestly, hold both him and CEH. Sell high on players. Don't sell low. That's why I was saying sell high on Deebo Samuel after an insane season where he scored 8 rushing touchdowns and on top of how many other receiving touchdowns he had, and he had 1,400 yards through the air. I mean, you sell high on players. If the player's value is at the lowest it's going to be right now, like Gibson's is, like CEH's is, like arguably Damian Harris's is, keep him. Don't sell unless an insane offer comes your way. You can put him on the block, see what people are offering, but pretty much that's just let me just see. I'm not really actively trying to get rid of players whose value is the lowest they have ever been in a 3-year span. 2 to 3 year span. Ant Garcia, Ron would bench him every time after those fumbles. Okay. And I think that's why they're going to take the ball away from him rushing the ball. But they know he's an electric playmaker. They drafted Brian Robinson to be Jarrett Patterson plus. Jarrett Patterson got 60 plus rushes last year. I expect Brian Robinson to get 100 rushes next year. And I expect Gibson's workload to get scaled back in the run game. But they're going to supplement it in the pass game. Because I think if they have a choice between utilizing J.D. McKissick in the pass game and Antonio Gibson in the pass game, who was a college wide receiver and has a very electric profile, they're doing it wrong. J.D. McKissick is 28 years old. Antonio Gibson is 24. One has an insane athletic profile. One's a good athlete and has been a solid football player, but is clearly not somebody that you who puts the team on their back to win a division. Antonio Gibson can be that guy in the pass game. Call me crazy. I'm higher on him than a lot of people. But let's get to this Chris Wise question. Thank you again, Chris Wise. Dalvin Cook or Najee for my keeper this year. My question would be, what are you keeping them for? Just in a vacuum, Dalvin Cook is playing in what should be a much better offense than he's played in past years because the new coaching staff is opening it up. We've heard that from Adam Thielen. We've heard it from Justin Jefferson. We've heard it from Kirk Cousins. We've heard it from Dalvin Cook. We've heard it from Irv Smith. They're opening the Vikings offense up in ways that it hasn't been opened up in the past. Also, there is a relatively consolidated usage share for the Vikings, whereas for the Steelers, yes, it's still relatively consolidated, but the quarterback situation is due to be worse. And the O-line situation is definitely worse because the Steelers have one of the worst O-lines in the league. For everything that Najee did last year, Najee had a 3.9 yards per carry, and he did what he did last year, finished as high as he was in fantasy because they utilized the hell out of him. He had borderline 400 touches in the regular season alone, and when you count the playoffs, he had over 400 touches in his rookie season. I'm going Dalvin Cook because better quarterback, more electric offense, more players that the opposing defense has to account for. Yeah, Deontay's great, but Claypool and Pickens, relatively unknown. Pat Freiermuth was great last year, but did what he did basically on 4 targets a game, 4 receptions a game, and was constantly scoring touchdowns, and I don't really expect that this year. If he repeats that, that's insane. But you look on the other side there. Justin Jefferson, alpha. Adam Thielen. Nick always jokes, Adam Thielen just scored another touchdown just now. Amazing touchdown score. KJ Osborne, a good number 3 wide receiver. Irv Smith, a receiving tight end who honestly profiles like a large wide receiver for them. I don't know if he's going to be doing a lot of dirty work. I think he's going to be used kind of like a Mike Gesicki's been used. And then there's Cook, who prior to last season, where he finished RB9 in fantasy points per game, was the RB2 in fantasy points per game in 2020 and the RB2 in fantasy points per game in 2019. So, to me, without knowing what you can keep both of those players for, I'm going to go Dalvin Cook. Another thing to keep in mind with Najee Harris is the only player to buck this trend in recent memory has been Derrick Henry, because he achieved it basically 3 years running before sustaining an injury. But basically every other running back not named either LaDainian Tomlinson or Derrick Henry, after they hit 400 touches, declined in some form or fashion the following season. With Saquon, we saw it. He started getting banged up because 400 touches is a lot of punishment to put on a body, even if that body is rocked up like a Saquon's is, like a Najee's is. And to 3.9 yards per carry, if you're going to fall off a little bit of an efficiency cliff there, Najee, like, what are you falling to? 3.5? I don't want to chase that. I still think Najee is going to be good. I still think he's going to be utilized a hell of a lot. But I'm a little bit worried that they might run him into the ground. And I'm a little bit worried that, he's not Derrick Henry and LT and will experience a little bit of a dip. Even if he stays healthy the entire season, will experience a little bit of a dip in efficiency, which for him, how much further can you fall from 3.9? Like, that's worrisome to me. A little worrisome to me. But I still have high hopes for Najee. Still hope he's going to be great. But all else even, Dalvin Cook wins out there for me. Alberto Sedao, what's happening, man? Trade TJ Hawkinson and Gainwell for Waller and Eno Benjamin. I want to know what the makeup of your team is right now. I want to know what format this is in. Is this Dynasty? Is it tight end premium? What are the other players you have at tight end and running back? Because in a vacuum, like, yeah, you're upgrading at tight end, and your RB2 gets a little bit more uncertain. If you're in Dynasty and you're not a contender, I would stand pat with TJ Hawkinson and Gainwell. Because TJ Hawkinson, I believe he's 26. And I don't know if he's going to have a great year this year. But as soon as next year, he should get an upgrade at the quarterback position. And Gainwell, as soon as next year, might get the shot at the Eagles running back RB1. Because I don't think Miles Sanders gets locked up after this year, and he is in a contract year. On the other side of the coin, if you're a contender, Waller is the better bet for production right away. And Eno Benjamin might have the leg up to get the RB2 job for the Arizona Cardinals. And when Chase Edmonds, who is a better running back than Eno Benjamin, but when Chase Edmonds had that role, Chase Edmonds was an RB2. And back before that, when Kenyon Drake had that role, Kenyon Drake was an RB2. So Eno Benjamin, technically, by nature of just being in that offense, could have the ceiling of an RB2. But I would much rather have Gainwell than Eno Benjamin in Dynasty. And in Dynasty, if I'm not a contender, I would rather have TJ Hawkinson, despite the fact that Waller is great, but Waller's 30 and coming off an injury-plagued season. TJ Hawkinson's 26 and should get an upgrade at QB as soon as next year. So it comes down to that. If you're a contender, I'm more willing to pull the trigger and get Waller on my team to compete for this year and compete for a ship. If you're not a contender, if you're middle of the pack, lower end of the spectrum, maybe just in rebuild mode and you're just trying to get some good players on your squad, honestly, sometimes the best thing to do is just to hold pat. Stand pat. Stick with Hawkinson and Gainwell. Chris Wise, Dynasty League, you can only keep one player and you have the two, so you can't decide. I would keep Dalvin Cook, man. I know it seems backwards because one of them's 24 and one of them's 27 and one of them was just the RB 5 and one was the RB 9. But I think I'm going Dalvin Cook. And I'm hoping I'm not steering you wrong there. I would love to have Nick in here to bounce this off of too. But I think he would just say what I'm saying. Yeah. So I would go Dalvin Cook, but if you don't have to make that decision now or within the next couple of days, come back next Tuesday and we can have this discussion with Nick. You can bring up the question. You don't have to pay us. Much appreciated for the super. But come back on Tuesday, ask the same question. You can get Nick's advice on this too, because that might be valuable for you just to help you figure out which way to go there. Big Trust in redraft. In your opinion, how high is too high for Travis Kelce? First round. First round is too high for Travis Kelce. But as soon as the turn, as soon as that switch happens and you're in the second round, it's okay to draft Kelce. I drafted Kelce even in a Superflex league in redraft at the 202 or 203. Travis Kelce is going to have an insane year. Remember, they let go of Tyreek Hill. Yes, they replaced him with 3 players. But Travis Kelce is going to get a ton of work as the only receiving option in this receiving room, including wide receivers and touchdowns, who has any sort of built-in rapport with Patrick Mahomes. He's a Hall of Fame player, hasn't showed any signs of slowing down outside of finishing tight end 2 for the first time in 6 years. The past 5 years before that, he was TE1. So, now he's tight end 2 for one season. I'm not saying that that's going to be the fall off for Travis Kelce. I don't predict that. I think he's got a good shot to be tight end 1 once again. So, don't draft him in the first round, but as soon as that second round comes around, you have my okay at least to go in on Travis Kelce. Scott Sharp, good to see you. Thanks for the blessings. Landon Grammer, what's happening? You have a draft spot. You have draft spot number 1. Do you recommend going hero RB with JT, 12 team, 1 full PPR, 3 wide receivers, 1 flex, or should you grab James Conner at the 2-3 turn and then wait for wide receivers at 4 or 5? To me, To me, drafting a running back in the first 2 rounds isn't hero RB. Drafting that first running back and then going wide receivers or tight ends or and then quarterbacks or something like that, that's hero RB. It's not heroes RB, it's hero RB. There's one. Now, if you don't feel comfortable drafting a running back to be your RB2 in rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 or something like that, if you're doing mocks and that doesn't seem palatable to you, then go first and second round running back, and that's fine. But then that's not hero RB. What I'm going with this year is I'm going hero RB. I'm drafting, if I have that number 1 spot, there's an argument for CMC, but I'm drafting JT. And then I'm hammering wide receivers on the flip at 3 or 4, or at 2 and 3, and then really at 4. If it's 3 wide receivers, 1 flex, I'm going running back JT, and then 3 wide receivers, and then maybe then I circle back and get RB2. But you know, if Kyler Murray's there in the 5th, I might go Kyler. If I'm late in the 5th, or I don't know the math there. If Darren Waller is there in the 5th round, I wouldn't be opposed to going Darren Waller there and then still waiting until round 6, round 7 to address RB2. That's the way that I'm doing it, especially in a 3 wide receiver, 1 flex format, full PPR. Those wide receivers that you're going to be drafting in rounds 2, 3, and 4 are going to be beneficial. I mean, you can get a Michael Pittman or a Mike Evans in round 2. In round 3 you can get if Michael Pittman falls, you can get him. Mike Williams falls, you can get him. He should be a wide receiver 1. And then in round 4, you're looking at your I'm blanking. But in round 4, you can get your Allen Robinsons, your Terry McLaurins. Then round 3, you can get your AJ Browns, your Michael Pittmans, your Mike Williamses. In round 2, you can get your Mike Evanses, and if you like the Dolphins, I don't like the Dolphins this year, but if you like the Dolphins, you can get Tyreek Hill at the end of the 2nd there. So I think that's the way to go. I like James Conner this year at the 2-3 turn. But if I'm going hero RB, which I am, and I'm not picking up a wide receiver in the 1st round, which doesn't make sense if I have the first pick, I'm going RB, wide receiver, maybe RB, maybe tight end, maybe quarterback, just depending on the value that's on the board, and then maybe picking up even a few more wide receivers, filling out your depth, and then going to running backs in the range where, Antonio Gibson, CEH, Devin Singletary, Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, Kenny Gainwell, those types of guys are going. Rojo, Zeke, Lenny, or Aaron Jones this year? Not Zeke. In terms of Lenny or Aaron Jones, man, it's tough. If there was one year to be all in on Aaron Jones, it's this year. I think I'm Aaron Jones ahead of Lenny this year, and I've turned that corner. A month ago, 2 months ago, I probably would have said Lenny. But Aaron Jones this year. It might be the last year. But you look at the wide receiver options in Green Bay, they're going to be passing to Aaron Jones a lot. So to me, yes, Tom Brady is going to be passing to Lombardi Lenny a lot too. But Aaron Jones for me, I'm going Aaron Jones. I'm going Aaron Jones. Max Fire Fantasy Report. Pick one for Dynasty. 12 teams. Superflex. Breece Hall, J.K. Dobbins, plus 23 first-round pick. Or Kenneth Walker and the 23 first-round pick. Pick Breece Hall or Dobbins in the 23 first or Walker in the 23 first. It's not Walker in the 23 first. It's between Breece and Dobbins in the 23 first. And honestly, I think I love Breece. But the fact that you could get Dobbins and a shot out of Zach Evans or a Jahmyr Gibbs or a Bijan Robinson or a Seth McGowan or somebody like that. Or if you need another position, you can get Kayshon Boutte or Jackson Smith-Njigba or Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I think I'm going Dobbins in the 23 first. Breece Hall is a more complete player. But Dobbins plays on a better team. It's a more run-heavy team. And despite the fact that the Ravens don't usually like to pass the ball to their running backs, I think they might have to this year. A, to keep Dobbins a little bit more fresh. B, because they don't have wide receivers of note outside of Rashad Bateman, and I'm counting Mark Andrews as a wide receiver. I think I go Dobbins in that 23 first. I love Breece. But he didn't exactly go to the greatest landing spot. They lost their left tackle this year in Mekhi Becton, who was already not a very good, well-graded left tackle last year, but they lost him this year, which means they're shuffling around their O-line. If you've seen what he's done in preseason, not that you can put much stock into the preseason, but the last preseason game, 5 rushes for 15 yards, 3 yards per carry of 3. I comped him to Najee, a younger version of Najee coming out when Breece Hall was throughout the pre-draft process and the draft process. But Najee never had to deal with a true number 2 back in the system. Breece Hall does have to deal with Michael Carter. Now, I'm throwing out those reports that Michael Carter might still be the team's number 1. I don't know who reported that, somewhere on ESPN, but it was just a dumb report. Throw that in the trash. There's no way. But Breece Hall's still going to have to deal with the fact that he's splitting touches. And it might not be a 80% snap share. It might be a 60% snap share. And there are O-line concerns. And there are quarterback concerns. In Baltimore, I don't have those O-line concerns. I don't have the quarterback concerns. Yes, there's going to be a little bit more of a committee, but half of that committee is injured and the other half is Mike Davis. So, okay, if he gets a hot 3-game stretch there in the beginning while Dobbins is still getting his sea legs underneath him, that's fine. I'd rather have Dobbins in the 23 first. Dobbins is one of the most electric running backs on the ground when healthy. And I think you can get him at a discount right now. I think what you're doing is getting him at a little bit of a discount, and rookie hype right now for Breece is might need to be dialed back just a little bit. Hunter, thoughts on Breece Hall's year 1 fantasy value? Talked a little bit about it just then. I'm still very high on Breece, but for year 1, the O-line's not going to be good. Zach Wilson is still making dumb plays and getting injured and leaving the door open for Matt Flacco to start games. I really like Breece. I think Breece is more, he's not a high-end RB1 finisher in 2022. I think he is, I think, honestly, his year could look a lot like Dobbins's did in Dobbins's rookie season, where he came on late. I don't think he's going to be as efficient as Dobbins was in his rookie season, because not a lot of backs in the NFL are. Dobbins is one of the most electric running backs on the ground. Breece Hall is a little bit more all around in terms of what he can do. He can catch passes and stuff. But yeah, I think Breece is a middling RB2. for 2022. That's not his ceiling. I think he can be more. I wish he was drafted to a better team that has that would put the emphasis on using him a little bit more. I don't know if they're going to do that. So middling RB2 with some high-end RB2 weeks in there is, I think, what Breece Hall will give you. Also, Hunter, Matt Ariza's career might already be over before it started. Look into it later. I won't type it in here. What? You can't tell me to look it up later. I gotta look it up now. Oh. Well, that's not good. Wow. Yeah, I'm not gonna bring that up here. It's an unfortunate development of the sensitive nature, and I don't want to really talk about it here and get this live stream ratioed by the YouTube gods for talking about a punter. But that is not good. And if that's true, dude should go to jail. And R.I.P. Punt God. And I would welcome Matt Hawk back as the Bills punter in light of that, because Matt Hawk is still good. He didn't have the leg that Ariza does, but he also doesn't have those allegations. So wow, was not expecting that. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. Not great news, not good news. We'll see how that plays out. Iron, would you trade away A.J. Brown for Cooks? No. You have Madison, but the stack hurts with Hurts. My next. Yeah, no. A.J. Brown is 4 years younger. And while he won't be as heavily targeted as Cooks will, because Cooks is one of the most heavily targeted wide receivers projects to be this year, with basically only him and Nico Collins in that offense, and that team is going to be terrible, which means he's going to be a garbage time king, which was what he was last year. It's why he was, I believe, wide receiver 18, Brandon Cooks. A.J. Brown has a higher ceiling. He's younger. It will be playing in a better offense, playing with a better quarterback. You have the stack with Hurts. And all right, I don't think you're talking about Brandon Cooks here. It's Cook. Sorry, it's Cook. I apologize. A.J. Brown for Dalvin Cook. And you have Chase and Judy and Bateman. Ooh, what do your running backs look like? What do your running backs look like? The stack with Jalen Hurts is a check for the A.J. Brown side. Dalvin Cook is no slouch, but also Dalvin Cook is 27 years old. Despite the fact that I was just recommending him to Chris Wise in Dynasty, a little bit more hesitant because he's 27, and he also has dealt with shoulder separation issues, which Nick brought up yesterday on the members only stream. That gives me pause. A.J. Brown, 2 years younger at a position with more longevity. Wide receivers typically of A.J. Brown's caliber typically play well until their 30s. Can be reliable in fantasy until, 32, 33. Cooks could fall off the face of the earth by the time he's 30. He might have a higher fantasy season until then. But look, you got Najee, you got Javonte, you got Elijah Mitchell, you got Gibson, you got Penny, you got Walker. You don't necessarily need Cook. I think I'm not as high on Judy as Nick is. Nick thinks Judy is the wide receiver to own in Denver. I think it's Sutton. You have Chase, A.J. Brown, and then one of Judy and Bateman. That feels a lot better to me than Chase, Judy, Bateman, but then also having a bunch of running backs, a couple of which you can't play because you don't have the spaces on your starting roster for them. On paper, it feels great to have Cook then. but then you might not be playing Elijah Mitchell and Antonio Gibson and Penny and or Walker. So that doesn't you're not leaning into your strengths there. I would rather have AJ Brown and keep that stack Hurts intact. But that team looks good. Jalen Hurts, Jamar Chase, Jerry Jeudy, A.J. Brown, Jerry Jeudy, Rashad Bateman, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, Elijah Mitchell, Antonio Gibson, Rashad Penny, and Kenny Walker. It's a good team. Who's your tight end, man? London Grammar A, you're welcome. Thank you for coming through. And yeah, I would say Hero RB JT is the way to go. It's the way to go. In your mocks, you usually end up picking your second running back at around the Kareem Hunt CEH range. I just talked a lot about CEH earlier on. If you want, you can rewind it a little bit once this stream is over, or just rewind it now. It's up to you. But I think CEH's floor is low end RB2, and he should be around a low end to middling RB2, which is fine for your RB2 spot if you're going Hero RB in a full PPR situation. When you have high-end wide receiver ones and some high-end starters at quarterback and tight end before you hit on that RB2 spot. I don't hate going Kareem Hunt either. But if you do go Hero RB, that allows you to hammer running back later on, and you can get guys like CEH, Chase Edmonds, Kareem Hunt, Devin Singletary, Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, Kenny Gainwell. David Montgomery has fallen a lot at points. Josh Jacobs has fallen a lot at points. Antonio Gibson has fallen a lot at points. So there are a lot of running backs this year that you can get late. Tony Pollard. Dameon Pierce looks like he's going to be the guy in Houston. There are a lot of running backs that you can get late. And so I think the Hero RB is the way to go. So I think that would be the best way for you to go. Iron, Breece Hall or ETN in redraft PPR? I think it's ETN for me, man. For this year, redraft, ETN. I think it's ETN. I've been a James Robinson believer. I don't know if we see him be super effective this year, if at all. Even though he's not on the PUP, we will see him. It's not if at all. But ETN fully removed from his injury was a season-ending injury, but it wasn't one that's super hard to work his way back from. You just need time. If you look at the wide receivers that they brought in, yeah, they spent a lot of money on Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, and Marvin Jones is still there. But you look at their receiving core, it's not like, oh, wow, look at all the guys that are taking away receiving work from ETN. And Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback prospect than Zach Wilson, and he's not injured. And they didn't lose an O-line prospect early in the offseason, like a month ago. So to me, it's ETN. All the news on ETN has been good. He hasn't looked super electric in the preseason, but I don't really care. If I had the choice between Breece Hall or ETN, I'm going ETN. In our draft, I had the choice between ETN and Cam Akers, and I went edge Cam Akers because I thought, all right, this offense is going to be on the goal line a lot more. Even if Cam Akers doesn't regain a lot of his explosion, he's still going to be utilized on the goal line. And I expect Cam Akers to get a little bit of that explosion back. But I think I might have made the wrong decision there, and it might have been smart for me to go ETN over Cam Akers, because there's no concern about ETN regaining his past explosion. There is concern about Cam Akers coming off an Achilles injury, regaining explosion in year one, because typically with running backs that come back in recent memory from an Achilles tear, Donta Foreman, Marlon Mack, It took them 2 years before they saw the field and their explosion reportedly returned. Cam Akers famously got back to the field in 6 months and was on the field in the Super Bowl. But he wasn't good. He wasn't effective. And yes, we will be 6 months removed from that. I believe 6 months. My math sucks. Removed from that by the time the season starts. 9 months. But I'm concerned. I might have made the wrong decision there. So I'm going to go, at this point, ETN over Breece Hall. ETN slightly over Cam Akers, too. And between Cam Akers and Breece Hall, I think edge goes Cam Akers because he just plays in a much better offense and will be exposed to a lot more scoring positions than Breece Hall. Nemo, you taking Lockett and a 23 mid-first, projected mid-first for Gainwell and Tony. I'm borderline out on Tony. I'm borderline getting to the point with Tony because he seems to just continuously pick up these nicks and bruises that have me concerned about his long-time viability in the league. I have zero concerns about Gainwell, but Gainwell for a mid-first, a projected mid-first in 2023. I'd rather have the mid-2023 first than Gainwell. In Dynasty, I'd still rather have Tony than Lockett. This is tough, man. This is tough. And Lockett, you're if you're a contender, I would do this. And if you're in a rebuild, I don't know, man. I don't know. This is a tough one. Lockett's being undervalued. He's back-to-back-to-back seasons of being a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. That was with Russell Wilson. Now things have changed. Got much more of a downgrade at QB. But that also means with this team, they're going to be throwing a lot in the fourth quarter because they're terrible. Which means, and Lockett's a guy, despite his age, that can get a good fantasy box score on one play, on 2 plays. And I think that mid-first will be better than Gainwell if you go running back. I think that mid-first, if you're in a super flex, might have a shot at a quarterback. You might have a shot at a high-end wide receiver. You might have a shot at a high-end running back. I love Gainwell. I'm kind of out on Tony, especially since the team just drafted basically a Tony clone, a slightly shorter Tony clone in Wan'Dale Robinson. And Kenny Golladay, despite the fact that he's ineffective on a play-to-play basis, he's signed there with enough money to where they're not going to cut him because it doesn't make sense financially. This is tough. Put it into the Discord. I hate to do this to you and not give you an answer. I would love to bounce this one off of Nick. Because Gainwell to me right now, he's worth like a couple of seconds. And Tony to me right now, he's worth a couple of seconds. Are 423 seconds worth Lockett in a 23 mid-first? I don't know, but also that mid-first could end up just being a high first. You don't know how it goes. You don't know how it's going to go. Lockett's a depreciating piece. Gainwell and Tony, not quite depreciating pieces in Dynasty. But that mid-first could be juicy. Maybe I'm putting too much premium on the mid-first, 2023 mid-first. Maybe I'm a little bit too low on Tony right now because he did just get banged up again. If he didn't get banged up, maybe I wouldn't be saying this. Let me think about it. Throw it in the Discord. I'll get back to you on it. I'm really torn. Part of me wants Lockett in the mid-first. Part of me wants Gainwell and Tony. And Iron, yeah, if you have Ridley too, like, that's just the icing on the cake. He will come back. He will come back. He's a talented player, but by the time he comes back, he will be 29, and he will be on a new team that might not have Matt Ryan at quarterback. You know what I mean? So, little risk there with Ridley, but he will come back. I have no concerns about whether or not he's coming back. Happy Feet, what's happening? Is Isaiah Pacheco really the dream maker? I still think CEH is the RB1 for the team, but I think he can come in, Isaiah Pacheco that is, and be a solid running back 2 for the team, which will amount to what I believe to be RB3 value on a week-to-week basis, unless CEH gets injured, in which case he has RB2 value on a week-to-week basis. Dream Maker, I don't know. It depends on what your situation is with him. If you got him for free after a rookie draft in Dynasty 3 to 4 months ago, and he's basically free and you weren't counting on anything for him, then you just got a potential little lottery ticket. If you're super high on him to the point where you're in redraft, to the point where like you're drafting him. Where's he going? Where you're drafting him in the 10th and 11th round ahead of guys that you shouldn't be drafting him ahead of. Like, don't go overboard. I still don't think he's going to be the RB1 for this team. I still think that's CEH. I think he will have a role on this team. I think he can be the goal line back for this team. He's built like a guy that can be a goal line back. He does have the speed to be an asset in the pass game. Dreammaker, I'm not going to go so far as to say that, but he is definitely an intriguing prospect. If you got him for free, good on you. Don't overpay for him now. And just don't completely discount CEH either. Nemo, rather have Hawk and Pittman or DJ Moore, Higbee, and a 23-second. I would rather have Hawk and Pittman. Easy. I still think Hawkinson is a top 6 tight end. I don't think he's going to have a top 6 tight end this year in redraft, but in Dynasty, he's still a top 6 tight end. And as soon as they get a quarterback to replace Jared Goff in the 2023 draft class, and we know about the quarterbacks who could be available to the Lions in the 2023 draft class, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, a few others, that's when you want to have Pittman in 2023, or Hawkinson in 2023, and I think Pittman is already a wide receiver 1. DJ Moore, I think even with Baker Mayfield, he's a wide receiver 2. He has the talent to be a wide receiver 1, but he doesn't have the team. He doesn't have the quarterback to be a wide receiver 1. Higbee, we like him, but he's also 30. And the 23-second isn't enough to sway me there. Iron, Goddard, Everett, Big Mo, and Jelani Woods. Those are your tight ends. The good tight ends, man. Yeah, your team is good. Hey, Landon, much appreciated. Yeah, man. And just so you know, for the regular season, we will have streams Thursday. We will have streams Tuesday, 6 p.m. EST. We will have a start-sit stream on Saturday, 6 p.m. EST. We typically go for 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours on that stream to help you with your start-sit questions for Sunday morning. And then on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. EST, we stream up until kickoff. So come back if you have any questions throughout the off-season and literally any week of your fantasy season on Saturday at 6 p.m. EST, Sunday 10 a.m. EST, and you can get your questions answered then too. And we're also going to be streaming Tuesday and Thursday. And if you want to become a member of ours down the road, we have an extra stream for the members on Wednesday, which comes with a few perks. If you want to know what the perks are, you can hit the members link and just check it out. But much appreciated for the comments. Much appreciated. Nemo, this guy in my league is trying to convince me to send him Brees for Mooney. Is are trying to convince you that sending him Brees for Mooney is a good deal. Yeah, no. I like Mooney this year. But Mooney is a beta receiver. He's a wide receiver 2 in a wide receiver 1's clothing for this year. He's gonna be the Bears wide receiver 1 this year. But as soon as next year, look at who the Bears have on contract, signed under contract. It's Darnell Mooney and Velus Jones, and that's it. They're going to be drafting a wide receiver high. They have the quarterback. They have the tight end. They have a couple of running backs. We'll see what they do with David Montgomery, but they have Khalil Herbert. They have Treston Ebner, who's hurt right now, but I think he can be a little bit more than even he's shown in the preseason. They have nothing at wide receiver. They're going to be drafting a Kayshon Boutte or a Jackson Smith-Njigba or a Mario Addison or one of those guys at wide receiver to put him over the top. And they're also probably going to be players in free agency, which will mean Darnell Mooney is probably going to be the team's wide receiver 2 next year. Won't be the target hog that he's been the past 2 seasons. And by 2023, it should be Brees to the moon, because not only will Mekhi Becton be back, but the Jets will have another year of Zach Wilson. If they fail, they'll be able to draft a quarterback high who has more upside, and or they'll be able to continue to address their O-line. So, yeah, not a good deal. It's the team that I sent in the member stream that's projected to finish 10th. Yeah, keep Brees. Keep Brees. For sure. All right, so we do have a preseason game in 15 minutes. I did say at the beginning of the stream, and this stream was advertised as being a stream where we can mock draft together. How many of y'all are Jones in a mock draft right now? How many of y'all want to get in a quick mock draft? Depending on how many people want to get in a mock draft real quick, we'll either lock it in and go for a good 30 minutes, and then I'll miss a little bit of this preseason game against with the Chiefs and the Packers, which I do want to see because Pacheco's playing, Romeo Doubs is playing. So I kind of do want to see it. But I can also tune in a little late. So let me know in the chat if you guys, and if I hear from you within the next few that there's enough people that want to mock, I'll do it. But if not, then I'm going to watch this preseason game. You got 2 people in, Iron and Rojo. That's good enough for me. There's the link. I'm also going to throw it in the Discord. Bear with me here. All right, it is in the general hashtag of the general portion of the Discord, so you can join that too. And yeah, we can mock draft real quick. Let me put it up on the screen. There we go. There we go. We got Max Fire in here. I hurt your feelings yesterday, Nemo. What did I do? What did I do? Yeah, Iron, the 10th spot is up for grabs, man. I got the 11th though, so don't snipe me. Nemo, don't be butthurt. Just trade me Josh Allen in the members only league. No worries, Iron. We'll wait. We'll wait. Nemo, Mac, Fields, Carr, Swift, CEH, Gainwell, Hines, Algiers, AJB, DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, Drake London, Calvin Ridley, Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, Josh Palmer, Kyle Pitts the Unicorn, Irv Smith, and Tyler Higbee. Yeah, nah, dude. Oh, that's the deal you be adding Lockett to. Let me take a look. So the Kadarius, moving off of Kadarius isn't much of a hit to you because you do have Wan'Dale. As soon as 2023, you do have Ridley. You got A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, Drake London, Calvin Ridley as soon as 2023, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Josh Palmer. So losing Kadarius isn't going to hurt you too much. Losing Gainwell, considering you have Swift, CEH, and then Gainwell is your third running back, that might hurt. You don't need Lockett for this team. Now, if it was Gainwell and Kadarius for the 23 first and a running back that we like, maybe a little bit older running back that we like, then I might say yes, but considering the makeup of this team, I don't know if I'm doing that. Swift and CEH, and then Gainwell, and then Hines and Algier. It's not the greatest collection of talent at running back, and I'm not going to move talent at running back to get a wide receiver I'm not going to use in a first next year when I have a chance to compete, because I think the squad with Swift, CEH, A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Derek Carr might actually have the chance to really compete here. Plus, that 23 first is enticing. But Gainwell's 24, I believe. Kadarius is 23, I believe. So, Dynasty, I don't know if you want to get rid of those players for a first, and then, an aging 29-year-old wide receiver who got a downgrade at quarterback, who you're not going to use. Yeah, if anything, I'd say, hey, let's table this deal and not do it right now. Maybe we'll do it next offseason. Maybe that's what I do there. But even then, man, I think now at this point, looking at your squad, keep Gainwell. Float Tony to maybe to get another wide receiver on your squad. Float Wan'Dale to maybe get another wide receiver on your squad. You got two of those Giants wide receivers. Trade one of them to get another running back on your squad. This is what I meant. I'm sorry if I said wide receiver. Trade one of Tony or Wan'Dale to get a wide receiver on the squad. But all right, let's start mocking. Is everybody in here that wants to be in here? The Notorious TBG. If you wanna, and Mike Lopez. What's happening, man? What's happening to both of y'all? If you want to join this mock draft that we have up on the screen, click that link. We'll wait for you. If not, we'll get started in 2 minutes. We'll get started at 7:54. But Nemo, man, I like that squad, especially having Pitts and Irv. You got some solid quarterbacks. Love the fact that you got Swift. A.J. Brown and DJ Moore, they're both 25. You should have them for the next 5 years at least. Elijah Moore, 23. Drake London, 22. Calvin Ridley, 29. But Kadarius Toney, 23. Wan'Dale, 22. Palmer, 24. You got a young squad there, man. That's a good dynasty squad to be looking at. Next year, again, maybe think about moving Carr in the offseason for a pick or two, since you have Mack and Fields. Traded Jefferson to get Pitts. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's fine looking at the outlook of your squad, too. Notorious, you in here? All right, we're going to start this. And Mike's in here, too. Word. All right, let's go. Turn off these stupid notifications. Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson. Sounds stupid noise. Here we go. Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, Dalvin Cook, Stephon Diggs, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Notorious on the clock. Look at Max Fire taking Stephon Diggs ahead of Jamar Chase. It's a bold move. I don't hate it. Jamar Chase, Notorious. Don't hate that either. Irons on the clock. Najee Harris. All right. Screw it. Joe Mixon, Travis Kelce, and on the way back. I'm going to invest in two guys I really have no exposure to in fantasy right now. Yeah, Nemo, average age is like 23.5. It's a great position to be in Dynasty. Great position to be in Dynasty. Iron going running back heavy. Notorious opting for a little bit of a variety. I like that, starting Jamar Chase and Alvin Kamara, though. Nemo, Aaron Jones, Deontay Johnson, Pitts, and a 23 first for Jefferson and Knox. Yeah, I remember that deal. Yo, why are you telling people to snipe me? Don't do that. Don't do that. Mike, is CMC and Schultz worth Pitts? Yeah. Shit, man. CMC is 26. He still has some of the highest, one of the highest ceilings at RB in the league. But I'm guessing this is Dynasty. Pitts is 21, going on 22, and had an 1,000-yard season as a rookie at tight end. We might not see the second-year leap from him because this offense is quarterback deficient by my standards. But, I mean, that's probably the price for Pitts. And I think I'd pull the trigger on that. It's tough to sell CMC, but to get a player of the caliber of Pitts on your dynasty team, who is a building block at tight end, especially if you're in tight end premium, don't know the format of your league, but I think I would do that. And I think Schultz is a little overrated, in dynasty at least. Let's get back to this draft. Max went Nick Chubb, Rojo, Christian McCaffrey, Javonte Williams, A.J. Brown. I like that. Mike Lopez, Jonathan Taylor, Mike Evans, Michael Pittman. I love that squad. That's exactly what I was talking about with Landon Grammer. Going Jonathan Taylor 1 and then hammering wide receiver and back-to-back to maybe even back rounds. And that squad is looking real good. Real good. Pat Mahomes. Going Pat Mahomes, Max. That's a little bit too high for me for Pat Mahomes in a 1 QB. But going Stephon Diggs, Nick Chubb, Pat Mahomes, you got three real good players there. Nemo, John, what player do you have the most shares of this year? I mean, it's a little bit anticlimactic. But, like, I have Foster Moreau in every single Dynasty league. So it's not really like a this year thing. It's just like I have him in every single league I'm in because he was free and has that RAS above 9. So I just threw him on my squad. I also have a lot of Gainwell. I have Gainwell pretty much everywhere. I got a lot of Mike Evans. Yeah. Let me think on that. I'll get back to you with some more. But Notorious, Jamar Chase, Alvin Kamara, James Conner, like that start. Iron, Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, T. Higgins, love that start. Let me get you a true answer as far as which player I have the most stock in. Nemo, I'll get you a true answer. Gabe Davis, that's one. I have Gabe Davis. I identified him early. I have him everywhere. I was buying him after year one and just sitting on him. And I probably overpaid at the time, but it's looking cool for me now. Like I traded Damian Harris last year before the season for Gabe Davis in a second. Win for me. I'll take that. And I think I traded Phillip Lindsay in a second or something, or Phillip Lindsay in a couple of thirds for Gabe Davis 2 seasons ago in another league. I got Babe Davis everywhere. So that's another one for me. I got a lot of Josh Palmer. I weirdly have a lot of Cam Akers. I went on a buying spree for Cam Akers after the Achilles injury before he returned because the value was super low for a young running back. I didn't know that he was going to return at that fast and all that, but I do have a lot of Cam Akers for better or for worse. Mike, I like that pick of Darren Waller. I like your squad. I like your squad right now. Rojo going RB heavy. I like that squad too. Max getting DK Metcalf. I think there's a couple of wide receivers I would have rather had than DK with the quarterback situation he's going to be dealing with this year. But I don't hate DK. I just don't love DK. He's more of a 5th round pick to me than a 4th round pick. Iron, I like that DJ Moore pick. I'm liking your wide receivers and your running backs. Notorious, I'm not a huge fan of George Kittle, but if you are, I guess that's about where he's being drafted anyway, so. Look at Mike's team. Jonathan Taylor, Mike Evans, Michael Pittman, Darren Waller, and Lamar Jackson. Damn. Max, you suspect Chubb is going to get the biggest workload of his career? Hey, he might if Kareem Hunt gets traded. Team 7 going mega running back, yeah. But what about you guys? Everybody that's still in the chat. Which players do you have the most exposure to in fantasy this year? In Dynasty, in Redraft, and Best Ball? I want to know which guys you guys are going all in on. Also, yo, let me know. Let me know about this. Every one of y'all that are members. I know we teased it out last year, or in the not last year, in the throughout the off season that for the members, I might stream while watching the Thursday night game for the members with the members in the Discord. Maybe not on YouTube, but at least in the Discord, so it is real time and there's no 30-second lag and all that shit. But would y'all chill and watch football with me? Or are y'all like, nah, one for Iron, probably going to bed, and everybody else on Thursday night stream, are y'all going out for drinks and stuff with your friends and probably not watching the game with me on Discord? What do y'all think? Notorious is all in on Wan'Dale Robinson. All right. And Nemo went all in on Gainwell. All right. Yeah, I don't hate that either. I went pretty much all in on Gainwell too, man. I don't hate that at all. Nemo, you'll watch Nick. All right. And Rojo, that'd be dope. That'd be dope. Nemo's not invited anyway. Max Fire's got a ton of Will Fuller. Uh-oh. Let's hope he comes back. Let's hope he returns. Maybe get signed by the Packers. I know Hunter would like that. Notorious, great pick, Allen Robinson, man. I would rather have Allen Robinson than Jerry Jeudy and Jalen Waddle. And I think DK Metcalf and maybe even Deontay Johnson. Great pick up there. If you guys are going to leave Kyler Murray for me here, like, cool. And I can turn around and get the stack. Don't worry, Nemo. You'll get an invite. If it's on Discord, which I want to try to do, is start doing some of the things on Discord for the members. All you got to do is be on Discord too, and come through to the video room on the members only Discord. That's in there. Look at Iron getting Jalen Hurts. Michael Thomas is a savvy pick too, man. I like this Notorious's team outside of that George Kittle pick. I'm just not a huge fan of George Kittle. I would almost rather have Darren Waller than George Kittle, especially considering the quarterback downgrade in the passing game from Trey Lance to Derek Carr there. But I like that squad. Jamar Chase, Allen Robinson, Michael Thomas, high upside. Max Fire, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like Amon-Ra. But I think I'd rather have Adam Thielen, Gabe Davis, and Darnell Mooney over Amon-Ra. Ooh, does Mike go Rashad Bateman here to get that stack? Because he's only got 2 wide receivers right now, and then gets a running back or something like that. Yeah, look at that, man. Stop helping John in the mock. Shut up, Nemo. Oh, man. Elijah Montgomery, Eckler, Cooker, Justin Jefferson, JJ. I mean, I'd rather have Justin Jefferson. Pretty easy in like any format. Mike, you really liking the Green Bay running backs this year? Hey, so am I. So am I. So is Nick. Kendall is going to be the 6th lineman again. Oh, man. That's brutal. Oh, man. Nemo coming out hot right now, man. I don't hate that with the DeAndre Hopkins there, Max. 6 games in, you're going to be able to swap DeAndre Hopkins in for Amon-Ra. Once, maybe once Jameson Williams starts coming into the fold, starts taking away targets from Amon-Ra, you can just go ahead and swap in DeAndre Hopkins. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Notorious getting London Drake. I need some running backs. My running backs look a little scary here. And this is probably a little bit too early to pull the trigger. I'm going to just go with... This is not a guy that I am super high on historically, but considering the Kenneth Walker news of late, I guess I don't hate that. Not getting a tight a running back earlier probably, I mean, just going all in on Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown hurts a little bit with the running back tier that ended up falling to me a round later. So, yeah, Mike's team is crazy. Mike's team is crazy. Chase Edmonds, good pick, man. Good pick. I like that Ramondre pick. James Cook might not really play a lot this year, especially with the news that Zach Moss is not dead. I mean, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, and James Cook. I try to stay away from three-headed monsters. But Ramondre, Jonathan Taylor, Ramondre, I like that. I like that 1-2 punch. Look at the ADP course correct on Christian Kirk. I like that. He was going later than the 9th round before. Now smart drafters are tuning in and picking up. Same with that Chase Edmonds pick. I like your last few picks, Max. And Robert Woods, sneaky pick there too, notorious. I was hoping Zach Ertz would have fallen to me. Then I would have gotten a triple stack, but not in the cards. Which means if I can't get the stack at tight end, and I'm not getting one of those elite top 3 options, I'm waiting. Iron is treating this like a real league. Chase Claypool. All right. Don't love the running backs available to me, but should have hammered running back a little earlier. I don't love this squad. Rojo thinking this team would surprise people. Hey, it could. I don't love the Freiermuth pick. But again, that's my own philosophy with And yo, look at Notorious getting that the stack, making that George Kittle pick look a lot nicer. I like that. But AJ Brown, Gabe Davis, Brandon Ayuk, Chris Olave, and George Pickens, definitely a high upside group. Love your running backs, no question. Don't have any concerns about AJ Brown. Don't really have any concerns about Gabe Davis. Brandon Ayuk could surprise. Chris Olave. The return of Mike Thomas and the addition of Jarvis Landry and the no suspension it looks like for Kamara does, knock a little bit of upside off of his projection, but I still like him, and George Pickens is a high upside guy. But, I mean, Deontay did get locked up there, and despite the fact that, Pickens looks amazing, the quarterback concerns there are legit. Tyler Boyd, one injury away to one of the wide receivers ahead of him from a full-time role with Joe Burrow. As your fifth wide receiver, I don't hate that. I like that you're not forcing the issue like I did at running back just because your running back isn't technically a deep group. Yeah, yo, Notorious, that tight end stack, you redeemed yourself in my eyes with that Kittle pick. You made it all make sense in the end. I like it. Your wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Allen Robinson, Michael Thomas, and even if Michael Thomas doesn't work out, Drake London and Robert Woods. You got very high floor guys there with some high ceiling too. Alvin Kamara and James Conner should be a great 1-2 punch. George Kittle is still a top 4 tight end, and you have a stack with them in Trey Lance, who is a top 8 quarterback for both Nick and I this year. Really like your squad. Teammate getting going. A couple of these bot teams, like I don't know why in a 1 QB the algorithm would lead them to believe that drafting 2 quarterbacks in a 1 QB league is the smart thing to do. I don't get it, but that's for the devs to figure out. I like the high upside backup running backs you got, Notorious. Damian Pierce and Darrell Henderson, you might not feel comfortable starting them until an injury happens, but very possible that an injury happens in those rooms. So Notorious is doing some things. Ooh, Iron with the Antonio Gibson killer himself. Oh, I have CD Lamb already. What am I doing? Oh, man. All right. With Treston Ebner banged up and David Montgomery playing on special teams. Bro, wait, we're supposed to draft quarterbacks? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. What round are you willing to reach for Pickens, Eduardo? Welcome to the stream. In redraft, I am not usually a fan of getting rookies on my squad. They feel just like they're too unknown of a commodity. And I feel like we've been spoiled by great rookie classes in the past few seasons where, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson are coming in and being clear-cut elite wide receiver ones right off the bat and stuff like that. And Najee coming in being a clear-cut RB1 right off the bat. I tend in redraft to just basically not draft rookies. If the rookie is Drake London and there's literally nobody else there at receiver, no Kyle Pitts, but pretty much nobody else there at receiver, which means his floor is pretty safe, then I'll invest in a rookie. Running backs are a little bit easier to invest in as rookies. I'm a little bit more of a proponent of that. But wide receivers, it's iffy. Pickens, super high upside for his career. But I love him in Dynasty. Have him in Dynasty. Very happy that I made that pick at the 1-2 turn in Dynasty. Has a very high ceiling. Has been killing it in the preseason. We all saw that preseason week 1 game and the highlights of what he did. 3 for 45 and a touchdown. That toe tap in the end zone. But also one of those catches on the sideline was like a twirling catch where he looked like Jamar Chase from last season. It had an insane college resume that was derailed by injuries. The Steelers know what they're doing in picking wide receivers, but the fact that they locked up Deontay Johnson, they have Chase Claypool there for at least the next 2 years, so they're not going to write him off and kick him completely out of the game plan. They have Najee, who they're going to feature to a certain extent. They have Freiermuth, who they're going to use to a certain extent. And the quarterback isn't, a Pat Mahomes or Josh Allen or Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow or somebody like that. It's either Mitchell Trubisky or Kenny Pickett. I'm letting somebody else draft Pickens in redraft. I just am. Love the upside. Love the player. Love the energy he comes with. Love that he's pancaking guys in the blocking game when the ball isn't even going to his side of the field. Love all that stuff. Huge fan of the player. Not a huge fan of drafting rookie wide receivers in redraft leagues. I don't love my squad. I gotta admit, I made some mistakes. Wide receivers are nice. I got a deep collection of running backs, but nobody I'm really in love with. Iron, love your wide receivers too. The Jalen Hurts pick is nice. The running backs are top heavy for sure. I don't know if I'm drafting Brian Robinson just because I want so much from Antonio. I want Antonio Gibson to succeed so much that I'm just like, screw you, Brian Robinson. But it could be a good pick. Love that Jalen Hurts pick right after Murray. Very good value. Trey Lance, 4 rounds later, notorious. Insane value. Stacking with George Kittle. I still think that's the stack of the draft. You executed that very well. I wouldn't have picked up, but I'm not a huge fan in redraft of picking up 2 quarterbacks. In a 12-team league, there's no reason to pick up 2 quarterbacks. You can usually find somebody on the wire if you need somebody as an injury or a bye week fill-in. So I do want to throw that out there, especially since there are no stacks with Trevor Lawrence on the squad either. But I do like the general makeup of your team, like your top 2 running backs. I can't get mad at Kittle, like your quarterback, like your wide receivers. Max, can't be mad at Mahomes. Can't be mad at Diggs. Can't be mad at Chubb. Don't love the DK Metcalf for the Amon-Ra picks, but your picks in the next few rounds got it done. DeAndre Hopkins, Chase Edmonds, Christian Kirk, all good values. Rashad White, Isaiah Pacheco, Jacoby Myers, sneaky value. Like that squad. Rojo, Mr. I don't need a quarterback until my New Orleans Saint is on the board with in the second to last pick I have. I like that strategy for waiting on quarterback. I'm typically, unless I can land a Murray in the 5th round, going that route too in a 1 QB. I think honestly that's where my draft messed up. That's where I messed up with the makeup of the squad. So props to you for sticking with your build. Like your RBs for sure. Your wide receivers got some upside for sure. I like the Nico Collins pick. That evens out the George Pickens and the Chris Olave rookie picks a little bit, because even though he's still just a second-year wide receiver, he is a starter on a team that should be playing from behind and getting a lot of garbage time thrown his way. And those late-round running backs, you hit on a few of those. Mike Davis, great pick. Zamir White, great pick. And Mike Lopez, I really like your squad, man. Again, I'm not a huge fan of drafting two quarterbacks and 2 tight ends in a 12-team 1 QB league. Especially not Gronk, because he's not playing. But he retired. We do expect him to maybe come back at some point this year, but even so, like, I'm not going to be drafting him. But I love the makeup of your squad for the first, 2/3 of the draft. Jamal Williams, great pick. Don't like Tua. You know how I feel about Tua. Jalen Tolbert, I like him. Took a little bit of a hit because it looks like Michael Gallup is going to be starting the season on the team, on the starting roster, not on the PUP. So it could mean that, it's not going to be 6 weeks of Jalen Tolbert before Michael Gallup gets back. But I do like Michael Gallup, the prospect. And with my last pick, I got to go wide receiver. Doesn't really matter who I choose here, but y'all know I like Josh Palmer. So there we go. I like a lot of people's squads in this. Mike, your first again 2/3 took the cake. Notorious got the stack of the draft, and George Kittle and Trey Lance. Getting Trey Lance that late is probably the quarterback steal of the draft. But then you're also, getting Jameis Winston in the second to last round of the draft is very solid too. So I really like the way Rojo approached it. Iron getting that Hurts and Goddard stack. I didn't see that until now. Great job. Little weak at running back, but with those wide receivers, you should be able to trade somebody for a running back. I like that. But yo, thank you guys for joining me for today. Thanks for sticking with me for a good 2.5 hours here. Thanks for mocking with me. Thanks for listening to me talk about Miles Sanders and CEH to ad nauseum. You know what I mean? I hope you guys had fun. Hope you guys got your questions asked and all that to your satisfaction. We will be back here Tuesday, 6 p.m. EST, after this 3rd week of the preseason, to help you guys with whenever your drafts are. For anybody that has a draft over the weekend, yo, enjoy the draft. It's a great day to have a draft. Rojo, I think you said you have yours over the weekend. Good luck. Hope you kill it. Do me a favor. Throw it in the Discord after you draft so we can take a look at it. But good luck to anybody else who has a draft over the weekend. Have a great weekend. Enjoy watching preseason football. Enjoy catching up on some college football, because I believe that starts this season or this weekend as well. For anybody that is interested in being a member of this channel, the first tier, which is 99 cents, gets you access to one more stream a week. So 99 cents per month, you get one more stream a week with us on Wednesdays, 6 p.m. EST. And once the season starts, that might be real valuable, because on Saturday and Sunday and even Tuesday and Thursday, we're going to have a lot of people in there with a lot of questions. A lot of people in there with a lot of questions. And that means that, you know, we're going to try to get to everything, but we might not be able to be as in-depth as we want to be. But if you want more access to us with less competition for conversation, 99 cents, members only. Join as I think a practice squad member. It's the 99 cents tier. If you want to get in on possibly even another draft with us, if not this year, because we don't have the time to set it up, but next year, join at the next tier. You get to do drafts with us. If you join, up at the next tier after that, you get the ability to get team one-on-ones whenever you want. One-on-one evaluations, Nick and I on a Zoom call with you, going over your dynasty or redraft team and giving you ideas of what you should do. So there you go. Notorious is gonna go smoke a bowl of that gorilla cheese. Hey, take a puff from me, man. Take a puff from me. And yeah, nice draft, everybody. Everybody have a great night. And one last thing, Nick's redraft draft kit, second link in the description below. Pick that up if you haven't. It's absolutely free. 30 plus pages of great content. 1 QB focused, but has some 2 QB knowledge in there as well. So check that out. It's absolutely free, and the link is the second link in our description below. But yo, thanks y'all for joining us. Have a great week. Have a great night. Have a great draft if you're drafting. We'll see you next Tuesday.